Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining me on this episode of Val Talks Pets. On this episode, I want to discuss 3 types of surgeries done on dogs and cats that are considered by many as mutilations and cruel. Let's discuss the practice of tail docking, ear cropping, and declawing.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Val Talks Pets, the forum for pet parents and enthusiasts alike. Having been in the pet industry for over 10 years now, I'm going to share with you issues and questions that arise as I work with pet parents on a day-to-day basis. I am not a veterinarian, but I do have certifications in canine, feline, small animal, fish and herptile, and avian health and nutrition from the University of California, Davis Extension.
At one time, it was considered absolutely normal to have a Doberman's ears cropped and their tails docked. It was also seen as normal to declaw cats to save one's furniture. At one time, it was a normal practice to declaw a cat at the same time as they were fixed. Oh, how times have changed. Let's first look at tail docking. Tail docking, or what can also be referred to as bobbing, according to Wikipedia, is the removal of portions of an animal's tail. Tail docking may be performed cutting the tail with surgical scissors or a scalpel, or constricting the blood supply to the tail with a rubber ligature for a few days until the tail falls off. In most instances, the practice is carried out without any anesthetic when the puppy is a few days old. Why do they dock tails? It had been argued over the years, as Wikipedia points out, that for many working dogs, it is a prevention against injury. However, many papers have been published disputing this. Security breeds often have docked tails like Dobermans and Rottweilers to avoid the dog's tail being pulled or grabbed in an altercation. But when you think about it, German Shepherds have been used in security work for years and years, and I've never seen a German Shepherd with its tail docked. Breed standards have been changing, but some are really hanging on, which puts a real burden on show dogs to represent in the altered manner. And this is where things become a bit gray. There are many countries that have made tail docking illegal, but have exceptions. Some countries like the UK, for example, have a rather confusing law with regards to tail docking. Here is how it is described. Show dogs are no longer docked in the United Kingdom. A dog docked before the 28th of March, 2007 in Wales and the 6th of April in England may continue to be shown at all shows in England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland throughout its life. A dog docked on or after the above dates, regardless of where it was docked, may not be shown at shows in England and Wales where the public is charged a fee for admission. Where a working dog has been docked in England and Wales under the respective regulations, however, it may be shown where the public is charged a fee, so long as it is shown only to demonstrate its working ability. It will thus be necessary to show working dogs in such a way as to demonstrate their working ability and not conformity to a standard. A dog legally docked in England, Wales, Northern Ireland, or abroad may be shown at any show in Scotland or Northern Ireland. And this ambiguity continues. For example, in Scotland, docking of any breed is illegal. The Animal Health and Welfare Scotland Act of 2006 contains provisions prohibiting the mutilation of domesticated animals. However, the Scottish government has carried out consultation on this issue and declared that they intend to legislate to bring the law in Scotland in line with England and Wales, meaning there will be exemption for certain breeds of working dogs. And this, they say, is due to the increase of serious spinal trauma reported in field dogs with undocked tails. But then you see research or papers about this reason not holding water. According to bestpetfacts.com, contrary to popular belief, tail docking can actually increase the risk of injury rather than preventing it. Dogs with docked tails may be more prone to spinal injuries or other health problems as they are forced to compensate for loss of their tails. The American Veterinary Medical Association disputes these justifications, saying these justifications for docking working dogs' tails lack substantial scientific support. In the largest study to date on tail injuries in dogs, the incidence was 0.23%, and it was calculated that approximately 500 dogs need to be docked to prevent one tail injury. Docking has been condemned by the American Veterinary Medical Association and the Canadian Veterinary Medical Association. But that doesn't mean it isn't still happening. In Canada, the following provinces have banned tail docking: Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland and Labrador, New Brunswick, Quebec, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan. That leaves British Columbia, Alberta, and Ontario still allowing this. And there is no federal regulation. In Australia, what is considered cosmetic tail docking is banned in all territories. And with many of the countries that have banned tail docking, they do have a caveat when the docking is done for a therapeutic reason. It seems that the tail docking issue really seems to lie with the working dogs, and it seems that some breed standards are hanging on as well. The bottom line is that there is significant evidence to dispute the need for tail docking for working dogs, and as for show dogs, what's the point? If the dog is being judged on what its breed is supposed to look like, then why can't they have their tails that they were born with? Well, we know people like to alter breeds, as we have seen with pugs and Frenchies, breeding their faces more and more pushed in so they can barely breathe. And for what? I think the evidence of the detriment that tail docking can create outweighs the aesthetic value, if there really is one. Now, ear cropping is another surgery procedure that is controversial. It too, like tail docking, came out of the idea that it was safer to have a hunting dog's ears cropped so that their ears didn't catch on something or another animal, especially the prey, couldn't grab their ears. Today, there really isn't any reason to have a dog's ears cropped, but to make them look fierce. Floppy ears, cute. Pointed ears, fierce. So what happens when a dog's ears are cropped? According to Wikipedia, the veterinarian procedure is known as cosmetic otoplasty and involves the removal of a portion of the pinnae, the external flap of the ear. Cropping is usually performed on puppies at 7 to 12 weeks of age. After 16 weeks, the procedure is more painful and the animal has greater pain memory. Usually, up to 2/3 of the ear flap is removed in a cropping operation, and the wound edges are closed with stitches. The ears are then bandaged. Long crops are taped until they heal into the proper shape. This procedure is recommended to be undertaken under general anesthesia. Opponents' primary concerns revolve around post-operative pain. American veterinary schools do not generally teach cropping or docking, and thus veterinarians have to learn on the job. There are also problems with amateurs performing ear cropping particularly at puppy mill. Statistics are saying that ear cropping is falling out of favor, but is still widespread in the show ring with breed standards and lower chances of winning against a dog that is cropped versus one that isn't. Although both the Canadian and American veterinary medical associations oppose ear cropping, it is not illegal in Canada or the United States and is still practiced widely amongst many breeds. There are a lot of risks with ear cropping: pain, infections, wounds that won't heal, behavioral issues, and long-term effects. Some of the reasons supporting ear cropping that do make me laugh. One is that a pointed, upstanding ear makes it harder for an attacker to grab the dog by its ear. Well, I know Rottweilers are used in police and protection work, and they don't have their ears cropped. Another one is that the cropped ears make it easier to identify the dog is a Doberman. Seriously? What did you think it was, a dachshund? If it's running at you full tilt, barking and snarling, I don't think anyone is going to stop and question whether they should run or not, depending on whether the dog's ears are standing up or not. As for bully dogs that have their ears cropped, well, that is solely for the idea of dog fighting. So to crop a bully's ears that is your pet is just perpetuating the stereotype of this breed. And if you really are engaging in dog fighting, shame on you, and I hope you go to prison for a long time. Basically, there is really no reason for ear cropping, especially if you are not trying to show the dog and are pressured by breed standards. The procedure is quite unnecessary and does put the dog through a fair bit of pain and discomfort. I absolutely cringe when I see a Dobie puppy in particular because it always seems to be a Dobe that has his ears all taped up. My first question is always, what veterinarian did you get to do this? I want to know, so I can never recommend them. My last surgery is declawing. Now, I have explored this in another episode, but let's get to the nitty-gritty. Declawing by ethical veterinarians is considered mutilation. At one time, it was as common as a spay or neuter, but as with everything, research and enlightenment have changed this. Declawing or onejectonomy is not a simple nail trim. It involves the surgical amputation of the last bone of each toe, similar to cutting off a human finger at the last joint. People often think that there is just a little slit made and the nail is removed. Well, the procedure couldn't be farther from the truth, and it is amputation. Because the cat is experiencing the amputation of each of its toes, there are often long-term effects, meaning that this procedure can have the cat experiencing pain in their paws for the rest of their life. Cats that have been declawed may find walking or jumping or climbing painful, and this could then lead to obesity. They can also be reluctant to use the litter box, depending on the litter being used, as it can aggravate the pain in their paws. They may not want to play or interact with other cats or become aggressive with other cats due to the chronic discomfort they feel. As well, cats without claws may feel defenseless, affecting their overall mental wellness. The bottom line on cat declawing is that it is an antiquated, unnecessary mutilation of a cat. I've heard people say, but I don't want my furniture scratched. Well, there are options to help with that. But if you don't want anything destroyed in your home, don't get a cat. Seasoned pet parents know if you want a super clean house without fur on the carpet, a chair scratched, a favorite shoe destroyed, cat puke on the rug, etc., don't get a pet. Be honest with yourself. You are not a pet person. Maybe a lovely fish tank would be an option. Well, there we go. The procedures on the big fat do not do list are tail docking, ear cropping, and cat declawing. These procedures fall into the category of mutilation. These animals were born with tails, with claws, and floppy ears. Is it right to force them into painful procedures for our own convenience and vanity? Most reputable veterinarians will not do any of these surgeries anymore. I would seriously question the ethics of ones that do. To me, that tells me that money is number one, not animal welfare. Hopefully, with people advocating for the animals and governments getting better at having protection laws in place, these types of procedures will become a thing of the past. So let's stay informed because, as I say, knowing is caring.
Thank you for listening to Val Talks Pets. Please remember to follow or subscribe to ensure that you never miss an episode. To really help the show and to make it easier for others to find, please rate and review each episode that you find interesting and helpful. And don't forget that you can also email me at val@valtalkspets.com with topics you would like me to address or with any questions you may have. Also, check out my website at valtalkspets.com and let me know what you think and how we can improve upon it. Thanks for caring.